a duty to keep. The spymaster smiled up at Jorah from her seat on the sofa. Her frail appearance belied the sharp intellect and cunning that had orchestrated countless covert operations. Jorah had learned to see beyond the surface, a skill she had honed over their years of working together. "Jorah, dear," the spymaster said, her voice sweet yet commanding. "Tell me about your very first mission with me." Jorah cleared her throat, feeling the weight of the woman's gaze. It made her uncomfortable. After 12 years of service, she was still unsure of the spymaster's true identity, only familiar with the many names she invoked. "I was 11, ma'am. My assignment was to be a serving girl in the palace kitchens." "Indeed, you were." The spymaster laughed softly, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "You were perfect for the role. Nobody suspected a child to be anything but a clumsy servant." Now at 23, Jorah had completed more than 50 missions, each a testament to her growth. Yet she seldom received accolades. Each success was a testament to the spymaster's careful planning rather than her own merits. "Is there a particular reason you summoned me?" Jorah finally asked, suppressing her irritation. "Always a reason, my dear," came the reply, tinged with disapproval. Jorah risked a glance up, meeting the piercing gaze of her mentor. "You have an assignment back at the palace. You'll be returning to the kitchens, in fact. You'll take on the identity of the same girl who left all those years ago, just back from her time in a village, longing for the heartland she once called home." Jorah's brow furrowed in confusion. "What is my objective?" She had hoped for something more thrilling than the malodorous kitchens. "Blend in," the spymaster instructed coolly. "Make acquaintances. I've heard the queen has a fondness for the serving girls. If you gain her favor, it would certainly benefit our interests. Your arrival in the kitchens should be tomorrow." She handed Jorah an envelope with a flick of her wrist. "Your work documents, as always." The official seal, an intricate design of a falcon encircled, stood out starkly on the envelope. Inside, the papers would help facilitate her work at the palace. The spymaster waved dismissively. "Off you go. Spend last week's earnings on something cheerful." Jorah performed a respectful nod, placing her hand over her heart before exiting through the small door at the back of the house. The cool air washed over her as she stepped into the alley, and the bustle of Market Street greeted her. The vibrant sounds of vendors shouting and customers chattering eased the tension in her limbs. While crossing the street, Jorah's name was called. "Jorah." She turned to find Ingrid, a local shopkeeper whose presence felt like a soothing balm to her frequent turmoil. They had been friends since childhood, woven together by serendipity and the intertwining of their lives as they navigated their roles. "How have you been?" Jorah asked, waving her hand. "Better if you came inside." Ingrid replied, her face brightening in the sun. Her dark hair framed her face charmingly as she urged Jorah into her ceramic shop. Once the door was shut behind them, Ingrid led Jorah to the back room filled with pots and plates. The cramped space felt both comforting and familiar, though the old rocking chair was occupied by a man snoring gently. "How's business?" Jorah asked as she settled into a worn chair, tucking the spymaster's envelope into a nearby pocket. Ingrid sighed and leaned back, concern clouding her features. "Not great. The new trade partners have put a damper on things." Jorah's curiosity piqued. "What trade partners?" "They're from a newly formed nation across the sea. Their royal guests are less than amiable. They don't like to part with their coin, but we have to treat them well." Ingrid rolled her eyes, her frustration palpable. "Are they staying at the palace?" Jorah asked, and when Ingrid nodded, she felt a familiar twinge of unease. Her assignment was centered around the palace, and she had little love for chaos wrapped in royal intrigue. "What do you think?" Ingrid asked, squinting at Jorah. "You look like something is on your mind." "It's nothing," Jorah quickly responded, though the memories of their childhood in the kitchens lingered in her thoughts. They had both been playful and headstrong, breaking countless dishes amidst laughter, now transformed into a soldier of secrets. I was just reminiscing about how we met. In the kitchens? It feels like a lifetime ago, Ingrid remarked, a wistful smile gracing her lips. That's right. I'm going back to the kitchens again, Jorah said, her voice subdued. Really? You think Pell will still be around? Ingrid's question carried a teasing tone Jorah did not appreciate. Why would Pell still be a serving girl? Jorah shot back, though embarrassment colored her cheeks. Pell had certainly made an impression on her during their time at the palace. Hey, you never know, Ingrid chuckled lightly. If anyone could keep you from causing too much trouble, it would be Pell. No one needs to keep me from trouble, Jorah protested, though a small smile crept onto her face. When do you start anew at the palace? Ingrid continued, leaning forward with curiosity. Tomorrow, I suppose. It was rather last minute, Jorah admitted. It's better than starving, Ingrid replied sincerely, standing up. Jorah followed suit, and to her surprise, Ingrid enveloped her in a warm hug. Stay safe, please. I miss our chats, Ingrid murmured softly. Jorah smiled, feeling the weight of friendship wash over her. I will, she promised, even as uncertainty loomed over her path. Their bond was a sanctuary amidst the shadows she navigated, and she knew it would be a comfort, particularly when her world felt all too precarious. The next morning, Jorah donned the simple yet elegant dress that had once belonged to her younger self. It still smelled faintly of the lavender sachets she used to tuck into the fabric before she would hang it in her closet back in her childhood home. Staring at her reflection in the dim light, she couldn't help but feel a wave of nostalgia mixed with apprehension. No longer just the carefree girl she had once been, she had transformed into a skilled operative, a servant with a purpose. As she stepped into the bustling palace kitchen, the familiar cacophony of clattering pots and the rich aroma of baked bread greeted her like an old friend. She scanned the room, taking in the kitchen staff who looked too focused on their tasks to notice her. The sudden realization that she was just another faceless servant among many brought an unexpected wave of comfort. Move faster, Jorah, one of the older cooks barked, a large, flour-dusted woman with arms like tree trunks. The name echoed in her ears, a name she had chosen to reclaim for this assignment. Jorah took a breath and hurried to gather her tasks, allowing the rhythm of the kitchen to envelop her. Jorah, a familiar voice chimed from behind her. She turned to see a petite figure with curly hair and bright blue eyes. It was Pell, standing in her iconic stance, hands on her hips, a grin breaking across her face. Is that really you? You look all grown up. And what are you doing back here? An unexpected swell of emotions rushed through Jorah. She hadn't seen Pell in years. The girl who had once been her friend had grown into an even sharper-minded young woman. It's me. I'm back for a while. Just visiting, Jorah replied, dodging the truth. There was no point in revealing too much about her real purpose. Just visiting? You're not going to stay? Because you were my favorite partner in crime. Pell laughed, her eyes sparkling in a way that reminded Jorah of their youthful days. Maybe, Jorah said, her heart straying toward something she knew was dangerous. Innocent friendship could easily become a weakness. As they chatted, she felt the old camaraderie reignite. Pell had an infectious spirit, and they reminisced about their misadventures, the times they had snuck out of the kitchen during gala nights, the memories of breaking plates and stealing treats while avoiding the watchful eyes of the head chef. But the cautious part of Jorah's mind warned her to keep her distance. Do you remember when we threw that flower at the Lord's son? He looked like a walking ghost. Pell chuckled, leaning against the counter as she wiped tears of laughter from her eyes. I think you mean the time you threw flour, Jorah corrected playfully, her heart lifting as they recounted their light-hearted antics. Yet as the day progressed, Jorah reminded herself of the purpose that brought her back here. She was not just a wandering servant, she was on a mission. Gathering information about the new trade partners was her priority, and she couldn't afford any distractions, even if that meant keeping things light with Pell. As the sun began to dip, casting long shadows in the kitchen, Jorah overheard snippets of conversations that made her heart race. A group of kitchen staff was murmuring about the royal guests, a delegation from the newly formed nation that Ingrid had spoken of. They were said to be difficult and demanding, their behaviors causing a rift in current palace dynamics. "Did you hear? They complain about everything," one of the older women exclaimed, shaking her head in exasperation. "If the queen hosts another gala for them, I fear what might happen next." "Rumor has it they don't react well to insolence," another remarked. "I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, Jorah, when you meet them." She made a mental note of this, it could prove useful. But as she returned to her duties, she found it challenging to shake the apprehensions that surrounded her. Her task was becoming more complex than she had anticipated. That evening, fresh from a day filled with grating pots and peeling vegetables, Jorah found herself in the courtyard taking a brief reprieve. As she breathed in the cool night air, she noticed Pell approaching, an unexpected glint in her eyes. "Jorah, can I talk to you?" Pell asked, her voice suddenly serious. "You seem different. What's going on?" Jorah hesitated, considering how much to divulge. "I'm just adjusting to being back. It's been a while since I was here," she said, crafting her words carefully. Silence hung between them for a moment. Pell could see through the facade, and Jorah knew it. At last, Pell stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You don't have to hide from me. We've always had each other's backs, right?" The sincerity in Pell's gaze made Jorah falter. Trust had always been a precious thing, and while she was won over by the sincerity of their friendship, the complexities of her work made her wary. "It's just, things are different now. I have responsibilities." "Responsibilities?" Pell echoed, crossing her arms. "You mean working as a servant again? Or something more?" The directness of the question made Jorah's heart race. Still, she maintained her composure. "You know how it is. Life changes." "Sure, life changes, but so do people. You should make your own decisions. If you're here to stay, then be here, 100%. Pell's gaze softened, showing a desire to reach out, yet Jorah could feel the invisible barriers forming around her heart. "I'm not sure about that," Jorah replied, her voice barely above a whisper as doubt seeped into her tone. "I have commitments that can't be ignored." Pell took a deep breath and stepped back. "I get it. I just wanted to remind you that you don't have to navigate this alone. We used to tackle every obstacle together, remember?" Jorah's resolve wavered under the impact of those words. Should she let Pell back in? Should she allow herself to lean on someone she cared about, or would that expose her to unforeseen vulnerabilities? Feeling the weight of Pell's gaze, Jorah declined to respond. Instead, she turned back toward the kitchen, her heart heavy with unspoken words. The camaraderie between them was a beacon of hope, yet Jorah was tethered by her secrets and responsibilities she could not share. With one foot planted in her childhood and the other in her predetermined path, Jorah felt the split in her world widen. Could she adequately fulfill her mission without losing herself, or her friendships, in the process? As the evening shadows drew nearer, she knew the unraveling had yet to begin, and she braced herself for the challenges that lay ahead, determined to navigate the complexities of allegiance and trust while maintaining her purpose. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. Jorah returned to the palace kitchen each morning, reconvening with Pell and the other staff, who welcomed her back with open arms. Yet each day, the tension in the palace seemed to grow, manifesting itself in whispers among the kitchen staff. The new trade partners were more than just guests, they were creating a ripple effect throughout the palace as they sat in council with the queen and her advisors. One afternoon, as Jorah washed the dishes, she overheard two cooks discussing a gala dinner planned for the arriving dignitaries that evening. "The queen has spared no expense," one of them said, her voice a conspiratorial hush. "But I hear they have the temper of a storm. If they find anything displeasing, it could be chaos." "What do you mean?" Pell asked, staying close to Jorah and wiping a plate with a dishcloth. Rumor has it that one of the dignitaries is particularly short-tempered. If she isn't satisfied with the serving staff, the cook shivered dramatically, and the other staff around them nodded in agreement. Is the queen really going to let them dictate how we run things here? Jorah pondered aloud, stepping away from the sink, feeling a sense of urgency growing within her. We need to be strategic. If this goes south, it could affect everyone. Exactly. Pell exclaimed, her eyes brightening with determination. We can't let them spoil our hard work, right? What if we come up with a plan to impress them? Jorah considered Pell's words but knew more than ever that she couldn't afford distractions. It's not as simple as charm, Pell. We're dealing with foreign interests here. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted their conversation, rattling a stack of plates as one of the new serving girls stumbled into the kitchen in a fluster, her face pale. The Lord's envoy is on the way, she gasped. There's been a miscommunication about the menu. The atmosphere in the kitchen shifted instantly. Panic surged through Jorah as she saw other staff scatter, some heading to the pantry, others checking supplies. Addressing Pell, her voice took on a serious tone. We need to make sure everything goes smoothly tonight. Gather everyone. Focus and keep your head. We can't show any signs of weakness if they arrive. As the chaos erupted into organized preparations, Jorah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She coordinated the cleanup and menu adjustments as Pell rallied the other staff, her enthusiasm contagious. Night fell, and the kitchen buzzed with intensity as the gala commenced. Jorah watched from the kitchen door as the dignitaries pranced through the grand hall, laced in luxurious silks, the air around them electric with power. As the evening unfolded, tension hung thick in the air. Jorah took a moment to steady her nerves, her heart pounding with anticipation and anxiety as waitstaff carried trays of beautifully arranged dishes to the dining hall. She couldn't help but glance at the crowd of noble guests, including Pell, who was flitting about, serving with natural grace. Just then, as Jorah poured herself a glass of water, a piercing shout erupted from the dining room. The sound sent a shiver down her spine. Who cooked this? It's inedible. The voice echoed from the head of the table, a fierce-looking woman with sharp features and a narrowed glare. Jorah's stomach twisted. In that instant, Pell rushed in, her expression filled with urgency. Jorah. They need more food. Quickly. No. Jorah protested, her heart racing. She felt the weight of her assignment heavy on her shoulders. There was so much at stake, a potential political disaster, the stability of trade relationships, and the well-being of everyone in the palace. Trust me, we can make it work. Pell insisted, pulling Jorah along as chaos erupted around them. We can't let them ruin everything. Let's show them who we really are. Before Jorah could respond, Pell darted back into the fray, moving instinctively to help her fellow servants execute orders amidst the uproar. Her excitement and determination were infectious, and, against her better judgment, Jorah allowed herself to be swept up in the moment. As Pell organized the staff to craft an impressive display of hastily prepared dishes, Jorah noted the visible shift in energy. She coordinated the replenishing of trays, guiding others as they worked seamlessly together, each member of the team blending their skills for one outstanding goal. Finally, when it seemed the night might win out against them, the serving staff returned to the dining hall, a glorious feast on each tray, unmatched in beauty. As they entered, Jorah clung to the bottom of her courage, hoping they could salvage the evening. When they entered the hall, the dignitaries' expressions shifted from discontent to surprise. The lead envoy raised an eyebrow as potential dissatisfaction flickered out of their hardened demeanor. The food looks exquisite, the envoy declared, and Jorah allowed herself to breathe again, glancing at Pell. The look of triumph in her friend's eyes was unmistakable. In the end, the gala was saved. The new dignitaries praised the quality of the food, and the tension lifted like morning mist. By the time the last guests departed, Jorah was filled with a sense of accomplishment, though she knew the shadow of her mission still loomed just outside the light. As the staff cleaned up, Jorah found Pell leaning against the cool marble wall, her eyes shining with exhilaration. "I can't believe we pulled that off," she exclaimed, unable to hide her delight. "Neither can I," Jorah replied, still buzzing from adrenaline. "You were amazing tonight." "Not without you." "You were the backbone of everything," Pell said, her voice sincere. "You made it happen." For a moment, Jorah felt a flicker of warmth, an emotion she had tried to suppress. She allowed herself to enjoy this fleeting moment of camaraderie. Perhaps this evening had been more than just about the mission, it felt like a reminder of who she was beyond the role of an operative. "Maybe I underestimated how much having you around could matter," Jorah admitted, allowing a genuine smile to surface. "Well, you're not getting rid of me that easily," Pell laughed, her eyes twinkling. As they finished cleaning the kitchen, Jorah realized that her mission had become unexpectedly intertwined with the bonds she shared here. One evening of camaraderie, mixed with laughter and kitchen chaos, had revived parts of her she thought had long been buried. Yet even as joy filled her heart, the spymaster's warning loomed in her mind. With challenges ahead, she knew the life of a spy remained, and no story could be without its complications. The next morning, as Jorah prepared for her day, she could feel the shifting tides of her future. She was at a crossroads, driven to choose between the shadows of her duty and the light of newfound friendships. With one last look in the mirror, she made a choice: she would navigate both worlds. She would embrace her work as an operative while also nurturing the connections that had flourished amidst turmoil and uncertainty. And as that realization settled in her heart, she offered the world a promising smile, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With both purpose and friendship guiding her, Jorah knew she could rise to meet any storm.